So Bud Light falls to the number 3 beer in the United States. We knew that Modelo took the number 1 spot a while ago. Who's number 2 now? I think you'll be shocked. Let's get into it. Here we go. Bud Light falls to number 3 beer in U.S. following Dylan Mulvaney boycott. And the Dylan Mulvaney boycott, that is what everybody is trying to avoid. We're going to talk about it, but we've covered Tractor Supply Company. Same thing. Just absolutely getting rid of their whole DEI nonsense because they realize, we work with farmers. We work with people, agriculture. Maybe this DEI stuff isn't really what our customers are looking for. We're going to refocus on things that are important to our clientele. Interesting. It's an interesting reversal, isn't it? But Bud Light is still feeling the impacts. It's pretty crazy. Okay, so we knew Modelo Especial, the Mexican import sold by Constellation Brands, is now numero uno. Modelo. Ahead of Bud Light. What's the world coming to? Bud Light should be the number 1 selling beer in the United States, just no matter what. It's Bud Light, right? I mean, that used to just be a constant thing. It's just like, all right, you're going to get some cheap beer that's okay, that's, a step above absolute trash. Not great tasting. But, I think there's a lot of consumers out there that are like, I'm okay with drinking some Bud Light, but now it's Modelo. Modelo accounting for 9.7% of beer dollar sales in the U.S. stores within the 4 weeks that ended July 6th, according to some data. All right, so there's Modelo Especial, Bud Light, Michelob Ultra. Would you believe me if I told you Michelob Ultra is the number dose beer in the United States? Now, here's the 2 things I would say about Michelob Ultra. Number 1, it's low in calories. Number 2, it's low in carbs. That's the only good thing I can say about Michelob Ultra. It is a terrible tasting beer, in my opinion. And I'm down with these kind of beers. I'm down with Pilsners. I'm down with lagers. Who doesn't love a good lager? I am not. Even though I'm from Seattle, I am not a huge IPA guy. That whole thing to me I don't get into it. It's not my taste. But Michelob Ultra, the low-carb beer, is also owned by Anheuser-Busch, came in at second place with 7.3% of total beer sales nationwide. Bud Light represented 6.5% of beer sales. After the 4, they're just dropping. Covered that yesterday, just how Bud Light had been Bud Lighted. And now John Deere just recently came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, came out and said, yeah, we're not going to go down this road anymore. We have reversed course. So all these companies wanted to get their DEI score. They wanted to get their let's be good citizens of the world score. And now they're like, that's not really a priority anymore. We've thought about it, and we think that our consumers, that they're not really into that. So we're going to just ditch all that stuff. All of a sudden, just boom, gone, right? Yeah, look, colleges have done the same thing. States have done the same thing. Yeah, we're going to get rid of all this because the numbers aren't really working out. Before April of last year, Bud Light was well ahead of rivals Modelo Especial, Michelob Ultra, and Molson Coors' own Coors Light. Coors Light, I mean, I'd rather have a Coors Light than a Bud Light any day. Just saying, out of taste. But Coors Light's even further back. In February 2020, Bud Light registered more than 10% of total beer sales at retail locations. On a nationwide basis, that is a huge, huge drop. And it's allowed these other companies, hey, yeah, we're here. We didn't do the Dylan Mulvaney thing. And if you haven't heard of this issue, it was an absolute shocking deal. Dylan Mulvaney, they did a very small, here's Dylan Mulvaney here. That's a man pretending to be a woman, identifying as a woman. And she had a Instagram following that was just absolutely nuts. She did this thing where she was like, this is what it's like to be a woman. She was pretending to be a woman and she was a man. And, she dressed up and she just pretended and did all these videos and people were like, go, Dylan Mulvaney, go. And then she did she did a little, let's see if we've got a photo here. We don't have a photo here, but she did just a post where she, very, very small campaign. Bud Light was trying to get rid of its its reliance upon the bro market, because that is their market. And Bud Light realized that very quickly after this, and they are still realizing it now. But at the time, they had Dylan Mulvaney. They gave her own beer can, and she was like, it's the greatest thing ever, and pretending to drink a Bud Light. I bet she didn't even have Bud Light in there. He or she didn't even have Bud Light in there. But it absolutely exploded, and people were like, what? You're putting that person as the spokesperson for Bud Light? You're doing what? No, this is a no-go. Same thing with Target. They had a bunch of Pride stuff, and they had some weird bathing suits for kids. And Target was like, oh, yeah, there's a little pullback. Yeah, we're not going to support this whole thing anymore. They tried to virtue signal, we're so supportive of everybody. Now everybody's pulling back because they realize it's terrible for business, and they've kowtowed to such a small percentage of the population. We want to make you guys all feel good. And I don't have, you want to make people try and feel good. And if that is your industry, okay, that's fine. But Bud Light, Tractor Supply Company, John Deere of all companies. I mean, you see the green and yellow hat. I mean, that is just a signature move hat for anybody that's into farming or any, agriculture or anything along those lines. Yeah, got me a, John Deere hat. It doesn't say Dylan Mulvaney pretending to be a woman drinking a Bud Light. You know what I mean? But John Deere has gone down all these roads as well, these DEI roads. And now they're pulling back just a scooch. So in February 2023, Bud Light registered more than 10%. That was when Bud Light's marketing department decided to hire Mulvaney, the transgender social media influencer, millions of followers across TikTok and Instagram, to tout the brand as part of a special March Madness promotion. Doing it for basketball. Hey, let's get a man pretending to be a woman on here, and we'll have her drink some Bud Lights. This will be the greatest thing ever. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, now your number trace in the United States. Mulvaney posted videos and images on her social media page showing her brandishing a special custom-made can of Bud Light with her image and likeness painted on the container. And it wasn't even available for sale. It was just this, hey, this is what we're doing to support the whole March Madness thing. Has Dylan Mulvaney ever watched a basketball game? You know what I mean? Those are things that come to my mind. Most of the females that I know do not drink beer because it's fattening. And if they did, I'm not sure that Bud Light is at the top of the heap. Yeah. So the post sparked a social media backlash among conservatives who launched a nationwide boycott of the brand, which resulted in sales of Bud Light tanking. And it's called the Bud Light effect now. It's called the Bud Light effect. The drop in sales led to retailers devoting less shelf space and Bud Lights, despite the fact that the boycott appears to have been lifted. It was never a full-on boycott, right? It was just, hey, Bud Light sucks. Bud Light is terrible. Look at this marketing campaign. It was a temporary thing, and everybody knew it. Yeah, here's John Deere. John Deere and Company backs off diversity policies following Tractor Supply. I mean, everybody saw this coming. You're like, okay, you're going down what road? Eventually, that is not going to work out because at the end of the day, you got to do business with the people that are doing business with you. And if there is a real mismatch of goals, of ideals, of values, then it's not going to work out. And that is exactly what is happening. But I think most of these companies, they've gone down this road. Oh, yeah, after George Floyd, we need to really ramp up all of our equity and diversity and all of that stuff. I mean, we need to get on the bandwagon. If we're not on that bandwagon, good Lord, we're not the cool kids on the block. But now they're realizing, oh, Dad, there are actually consequences for going down these roads that our customers are not aligned with. So John Deere, most recently, Tractor Supply Tractor Supply warned climate change and a lack of diversity would hurt business. Now it's ignoring those risks. So funny. This is CNN. Let's read this. Let's read just a scooch from CNN. Let's see how they spin this story, because it's pretty interesting. Here we go. As recently as February, Tractor Supply Company, known for selling animal feed, pet food, and lawn and gardening equipment to hobby farmers, told investors that climate change was a significant threat to its business. Really? Is it really? The weather comes and goes. Some days it gets hotter, some weeks it gets hotter, some years it gets hotter, some years it gets colder. It goes in cycles, right, folks? This is not craziness. Any delay or failure to meet its goals of cutting emissions by 50% in 6 years and achieving net zero emissions by 2040 could hurt public perception of our business, employee morale, customer or shareholder support, and its financial performances, the company said in its annual report. That was not long ago, right? That they came out and said that, just like everybody else was saying that. Tractor Supply also warned that it could suffer similar business consequences if it did not meet its 5-year diversity, equity, and inclusion plan to increase spending by 35% with diverse suppliers and boost representation of people of color at manager levels and above at the company by 50%. Just because, not necessarily because they're better picks, they're better hires, but just because that is the policy. You got to get them in there, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. Shove them in there. DEI didn't earn it. Just, you need the numbers to fill the numbers. Let's go. Hal Lawton, the chief executive of Brentwood, Tennessee-based company, had said that these initiatives could make great business sense for Tractor Supply until they don't. Yeah. Did this guy really think that this was going to be a good fit with a company that's based on Tractor Supply? I mean, come on. What are you thinking here, buddy? But Tractor Supply has decided that all of those risks are now worth ignoring. The company announced last month that it will withdraw its carbon emissions reduction goals and eliminate jobs and goals focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It will also stop sponsoring LGBTQ pride festivals and voting campaigns, as well as submitting data to the Human Rights Campaign, one of the biggest LGBTQ nonprofit advocacy groups in the United States. So there's that. I mean, this whole thing is just, it was out of control. We're going to do this. You reduce the carbon emissions by this. And all the folks leading this are still flying around in their big jets, right? Driving their big SUVs, security detail and their big SUVs. Yeah. You gotta do business based on your business. All this other stuff is just a sideshow. It's virtue signaling. It's trying to be in the cool kid block when it's not necessary. And you know what? It doesn't help your business. And now these companies are finding out. And on the front end, what happened is you've got a reporter that basically started going through Tractor Supply, John Deere, and analyzing, hey, look at all this stuff they're doing. And he made that public. And then all of a sudden, we don't want to get Bud Lighted. Because you see what happened when Bud Light did that ridiculous campaign with Dylan Mulvaney. Their numbers sank. So now other companies are like, oh, good Lord, we do not want that to happen to us. Because you know what? Shareholder interest in the company might drop just a scooch, right? Because you've got shenanigans that shouldn't be in a business model that don't really matter. This whole crazy stuff that companies are going after, it's not required. It's not a part of business. If you want to do that, and if that floats your boat, then hey, I say go for it. Because we've got a lot of companies here in Seattle that really base their numbers on DEI stuff. And guess what? After a while, they tend to go out of business. Yeah, we just couldn't make a go of it financially. We had the most solid, concepts here, and we really supported a diverse, all that stuff. And they go out of business because at the end of the day, that's not what drives business. Yeah, it's working with your customers. It's providing customers value. It's providing your customers things that they need. Because otherwise they're going to go elsewhere. Just like all the people drinking Bud Light said, yep, no go. Now Modelo, numero uno, Michelob Ultra. I still can't get over that. Michelob Ultra. Yeah. Okay. That's it for me on this one. Thanks again for being here. We'll catch up in the next episode. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.